On today's episode of Titus and Tate, it was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad weekend for us. North Carolina sports are dead as we know it, Tate. What hurt the most? Power rank, real quick, off the dome. The two basketball losses are losing to NC State in football.
Definitely NC State football.
Yeah.
And, it's not because I'm not worried about basketball, but at the same time, we have some time. Football is at the end of the year. You play NC State at the end of the year, and they planted their flag in the middle of our field. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, speaking of planting flags in the middle field, same thing happened with my alma mater and our rival.
Rivalry weekend was not good to us.
It was not good to us.
Yeah.
It was not.
Congratulations to the haters. Big win for them.
I feel like Jack from Lost. We have to go back to the island. That's what I'm ready to go back to Maui already.
Yeah.
So today we have a special show. Hour one of the show, I will explain why firing Ryan Day, a coach who has lost 2 conference games in 4 years, is actually the rational decision, Tate. And wanting to keep him around is irrational. Hour 2, I will pivot to all the candidates that I like to replace him. And then hour 3, we put a positive spin on everything. And we remind
Talk about
everybody.
Aaron Rodgers.
We remind everybody the Buckeyes still have a path to the national title. We're not dead yet. No, we're talking college hoops, obviously.
Yeah.
Feast week is over, and there is a shakeup at the top of
New number
the
one
AP poll, to say the least. Houston is number 1 for the first time since 1983. 5 Slam and Jam era. Fun times in Houston.
Good sign for NC State.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But far from the only fun story coming out of Feast Week, you have the Purdue Boilermakers, Tate.
Oh, yeah. They're back.
Oh, my God, in a big way. Dare I say it, this team is better than last year's team?
That's what some people are saying.
You're hearing whispers. UConn is a fun story.
Yeah.
UConn looks amazing, blowing everybody out that they're playing. Is Tennessee back is a question we're asking after they lost to
Or is
Colorado.
Kansas dead?
Is Kansas
Or
dead?
all the Blue Bloods dead?
All the Blue Bloods might be dead. All I know is this. It is officially Graham Couch / Bill Titus season, where all these schools are racking up quote-unquote big wins, but none of them are happening in true away on true road games.
Yes.
So it's hard to suss out who's actually good.
Throw out the neutral sites.
But also we can't throw out the neutral sites because that's the only data we have.
Yes.
So also bring the neutral sites back.
Give us that
But
data.
then throw them back. It is the best time of year to argue about college basketball because we've seen enough, but we haven't seen everything.
Yes.
And it's still very early, but we've seen enough to argue. And it's so fun. We are also going to do good guy, bad guy.
We're back.
Kyle guy this week. We have some updates. There are I will
Cal's
say,
guy. I have an
Cal's
update
guy.
there. Yeah.
Also want to say this. There are no fraud power rankings today, which I know a lot of people were excited for because Carolina Tar Heels
Should have been number 1.
should have been number 1.
I
fraud
sent
power
into the
rankings.
committee. Yes.
Maybe Ryan Day makes an appearance. I don't know. People are asking. They want to hear the fraud power rankings. I think the fraud power rankings themselves are on Fraud Watch because we are not doing those today. I think I might have to do those Friday. It might be a Fraud Friday situation.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
but we are doing good guy, bad guy. We're going to talk about Purdue. We're going to talk about UConn. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. All that coming up. But first,
Woody Durham.
all right, Tate. There is a lot to get to. That's typically how it works when we're coming out of Feast Week. Out of these all these preseason. I don't know why they're called preseason tournaments. I feel like we talk about this every year. Why are they called preseason?
Yeah,
tournaments
it gets me
when
confused because you and I we
not a
talk.
preseason?
Preseason's done.
Yeah.
We're in season right now, but maybe it's a good thing for my Carolina Tar Heels. This is just the preseason.
This doesn't count. All of these tournaments that happen during the week of Thanksgiving are awesome because it's the first opportunity for a lot of us to see ranked teams playing each other in back-to-back days, and they're playing in fun locations like the Lahaina Civic Center and Dark Ballroom in in the Bahamas and various other and an empty arena in Portland to honor the legacy of Phil Knight.
My goodness.
But all of these events are going on. We get a ton of data points from all of these ranked teams playing each other and losing, and there's an event like the Maui Invitational. There can only be one winner. So Arizona we love, but then like these other teams, oh my God, look at all the problems they have because they lost.
Yeah.
And we come out of it saying every team that won their tournament is a top 5 team.
Yes.
They have to be.
Yes.
And if they're not, you're a fraud for not putting them in the top 5. Because if they're not a top 5 team, then explain how they won.
How could they have won?
How could they have possibly won? And then every so often, you get the wise sages of college basketball, such as my father, such as Graham Couch. Those are the two. I'm really starting to subscribe to this.
I agree.
By the way, that say everybody pump the brakes. until these teams play true road games, we don't know who they are. We don't
Agreed.
really know who they are. It's easy for teams to go into empty arenas in Portland, Oregon, and win 3 games there. But can you beat Rutgers at the Jersey Mike's Center?
Because I need to see it.
Arena.
I need to see it. I need to see that on tape.
So anyway, what I'm saying, my big setup to all this is that there's a lot of stuff, there are a lot of different directions we can go. There's a lot of jumping off points we can take this thing, Tate. I think the best way to do it, I think we start with good guy, bad guy, because that's a good way to just distill everything into a nice, familiar segment for everybody. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Good guy, bad guy. I think we have a Kyle guy update too, by the way.
I believe so.
And Cal's guy. This is your segment. I have turned the segment all the way over to you. So I'm going to let you take the floor. Who is your good guy of the week?
Yeah, it's really hard, in this time in college basketball because people forget North Carolina was number 1 coming into the season. They had a lot of hype. A lot of people like myself thought that they were going to be destined to go to Houston and win the national championship. But I'm a journalist, first and foremost, Titus. And, even though I went to North Carolina, even though I was born in North Carolina, born, bred, and dead, sometimes you have to be honest. Sometimes you have to be objective. Sometimes you have to be a capital J. My good guy of the week is head coach Hubert Davis. And Dean Smith said once upon a time, if you treat every situation as a life and death matter, you'll die a lot of times. Well, Mark Titus, consider me a dead man. I died this weekend.
I saw you tweet that quote out, and I gotta be honest, it triggered me because it's such a perfect defense mechanism.
You can't argue it.
You can't.
And if you do argue it, you're a bad guy. BAD guy.
Yeah. You just anytime Carolina loses, you're like, it's just one game. It's not life or death.
Yeah.
It's
but
that's the defense Duke used when he beat Duke in the Final Four.
Of course.
And Carolina fans are dancing on Kay's grave, and Duke fans were like, we still made the Final Four. It was we still won the regular season.
We're still champions.
We're still champions.
Yeah.
It's still a great season.
And it drives you crazy.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to pull that card out. And that was Dean Smith. Dean Smith was the ultimate good guy that eventually won because people forget Dean Smith was such a good guy in 1977. They said he was a choke artist, even though Tommy Lagarde was hurt. Phil Ford was hurt at the time. 1981, loses to Bob Knight. He's a choke artist. He's a good guy.
Even though the president was hurt.
Even though Ronald Reagan got shot and they shouldn't have played the game. But Dean Smith, he represents the good guy that actually wins. And Hubert Davis is sounding a lot like a good guy after these games. He's congratulating Alabama. He's saying that he's proud of his team's effort. And then meanwhile, every one of the Carolina fans are yelling, we don't care about their effort. Why are we losing these games? Why do we continue to be up by 6, 8, and then all of a sudden squander a lead within seconds? We don't even know how it happens, but North Carolina at one point had a 6-point lead in the third overtime. Should have never even been in a third overtime. That game was the worst 4-overtime game in history.
Of all time.
Yeah, just lock that in. I couldn't even watch it. I was in security line at the Maui airport, the saddest place you can be, leaving this beautiful island, and I'm just watching on the Score app the score, right? So at one point, North Carolina, from my vantage point, goes up 103-102. Guy behind me in line is like, heels are up. I'm like, let's go. We got it. Game over. Look back at my phone, 102.
You lost points.
I've lost points. Never in my life have I
going backwards.
I've never seen points taken off the board. I have no idea how it happened. So I'm going through security.
I will say, and I'm not saying it to troll you, it was a good call. They called it a goaltending, and it was a good call.
I did not see the live play.
I sympathize with your point of view that it would be frustrating to refresh the Score app.
Just a man looking at a Score app in a Maui security line.
Yeah.
That's who I was at the time. And Hubert Davis, after Iowa State, right, you have this kid who comes in. He's averaging 17% from 3. He averages 7 points a game. He goes by the name Caleb Grill. And he has, I haven't seen someone this hot since Tyrese Rice against North Carolina in 2009, who had 46. Malik Monk had 47, so maybe Malik Monk as well. Caleb Grill does not miss in this game. I watched the entire Iowa State game. After that game, you get gutted. You lose that game, but you're kind of like, okay, first Power 5 opponent. TJ Otzelberger did a great job coaching in that game. Tip of the cap. I look at Caleb Grill in the championship game. I'm like, wonder how Grill did, after he just went off against Carolina.
Probably at 36, right?
That's what you would think, right? He'd build on it. Maybe be MVP of the weekend. 1 point. 1 point. Who is this man? Who gave him powers that day? What is Mr. K up to? Has anyone seen him? He's like Severus Snape right now. He's like working the spells underneath the table for guys like Caleb Grill to destroy our program. But anyways, Hubert Davis remains optimistic. He remains positive. I really appreciate that. After what happened last season, you have nothing. I mean, based on the data that we saw last year, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, this team the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, good guy of the week because he has been nothing but kind and sweet. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
I don't know if that's what this team needs.
I don't know if it is either. I don't know if it is either, Mark Titus. That's why he's good guy of the week.
Yeah.
And Dean Smith, this is how he lived his life. He was the ultimate good guy. He won games. Hubert Davis, I hope he follows in the same footsteps, but it was a whole lot of good guy coming out of these press conferences.
That Bama game was, I mean, you said it, the worst. I did watch it, and
yeah.
I wish I
watched
didn't.
regulation, and then I had to go to the airport. So the overtimes, I didn't see any of the overtimes.
Dude, that was some of the worst basketball. I was the opposite. I was watching Purdue Duke, and then I flipped over when Purdue.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, when Purdue was running away with it, I was like, all right, I'll go check out this close Carolina Bama game.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, both teams were just handing the game over to the other.
Yes.
I think there were. I went back and rewatched it. I think the last 4 minutes of regulation and each overtime combined with both teams, there were 2 passes. The entire – I'm kidding. But it felt that way.
Yeah.
But also it felt that way.
Caleb Love, again, I'm watching the score app, and I just keep seeing the field goal attempts go
37.
up. And look, I love Caleb Love, and it's not Caleb Love's fault. I don't put any blame on Caleb Love, but at some point, maybe we make a pass. I think that is my big takeaway after watching Carolina early in the season. It is, I mean, Brady Manick was obviously the straw, and he stirred everything up. He got everybody involved. People were touching the ball. RJ Davis, let's play point guard. Caleb Love, let's play shooting guard, but not shooting as much.
North Carolina in general, let's play defense.
Let's play defense.
Because I don't really.
Let's fight over ball screens so Caleb Grill doesn't keep hitting threes in our face.
Well, I'm fascinated with this. I don't know if this is a new problem or not, but saying it's a new problem helps my argument, and I'm too lazy to think about the other side right now, so I'm going to just run with it. I'm fascinated by the name, image, likeness era when you have a team like North Carolina that is out of blue blood, beats Duke in the Final Four, ends Mr. K's career, has like this insane run. We talked about it in the preseason that they lose in the national championship, but somehow they go back to campus and they're all heroes and treated like they won the national championship.
Yeah.
Which is very rare, like to get that treatment where everyone almost doesn't even care that you choked away the national title because you're still heroes to everybody. And I'm fascinated, Tate. It's not a new problem to have guys coming back and like kind of have to figure out the ego part of all of that. Mm-hmm. But I am fascinated with the name, image, likeness part of it all, that like Armando Bacot's making how much money, and
I wake up after, the devastating 4 overtime loss to Alabama to the news that Armando Bacot has a new Roback deal. And like I love to hear it. I love that Roback.
We love Roback.
We love Roback.
We have a Roback deal, as it turns out, but But at the same time,
I don't know if that was the
is
time.
Roback bad guy of the week? Like they're stepping, because I think the Roback guys are Virginia guys, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
So I think
that's a Charlottesville company. So I'm wondering if they're stepping in here.
They're trying to get to our guys.
They're trying to. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It feels like
No, it is interesting, dude, because this team more than any other this year is the team that if you're someone that wanted to argue, they have there's too much and there's only one ball, and there's you drop a crown in the locker room and you say only one of you can walk out of this locker room wearing the crown. Figure it out amongst yourselves. They'll be in there for months trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Caleb Love and Bacot and basically just those two. It's basically just those two. We'll be arguing forever. Like they'll never figure it out. They'll die of starvation in that room trying to fight over who gets to wear the crown.
Yeah. And it's all
that's fascinating to me.
Well, I think a lot of it too is Garrison Brooks being preseason ACC Player of the Year once upon a time ruined a season, right? Because it was so egregious. And I think Armando Bacot being preseason ACC Player of the Year was something that a lot of people expected, but it also maybe rubbed Caleb a little bit the wrong way, because Caleb is like, I should be the ACC preseason Player of the Year, which goes back to the straw. I think Brady Manick was the one guy that said, hey,
everybody chill out.
Yeah, not only everybody chill out, like I came here to win. Yeah. This is and Hubert's been preaching, he's preaching, this is Carolina basketball, and Brady Manick's like, this is what Carolina is supposed to do. We're supposed to win, and then all the talent kind of comes together. Right now, with even Baycott's ankle, which I think is still a question, he misses some of overtime. I look at this team and I'm
ankle
like,
sprain history.
I think it's still from the Final Four when the wood panel wasn't properly screwed in, or whatever.
How many people are going to tear their ACL and come back and be 100%?
Yeah.
The time it takes Armando Baycott to get this ankle.
Get this ankle right. Get him in the pool. Get that man in the pool. But I when I look at this team, I do think that Puff Johnson could be that straw. I firmly believe that. I think Pete Nance eventually will have to be a 5-man for this team, as we saw in overtime. That pass that he had on the out of bounds, he should never be the inbounder again after that. And granted, a lot of people were like, the Alabama guy is grabbed. One thing I will say, I didn't like the Carolina response as like the referees took this game away. No. We will not do that.
No.
We will not do that because we're the number 1 team in the country, and we're North Carolina.
We're the number 1.
We were the number 1 team in the country. And North Carolina, we don't blame the officials. We just beat your ass. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And this team is not the 2017 we just lost in the 2016 championship. We came back for redemption. That is not their mentality. It seems from the outside looking in. It feels very 2018 when Joel Berry and Theo Pinson and those guys were kind of doing their farewell tour to say, we're the national champs, yada yada yada. But that team was still a 2 seed, and it could have been a 1 seed.
Yeah.
And right now, this team, guess what? Looks like the 8 seed that we saw last year.
First 4 out?
It looks like an 8 seed that we saw last year. And honestly, I'm at the point where either be a 1 seed or be an 8 seed, right? Just
because if you're an 8 seed,
we take the 1 seed's path. Yeah, and I think when they get to March, they'll be a 1 seed. So it's like you choose. I don't want to be this in the middle. I don't want to be a 4 or 5 seed. Either be an 8 seed or be a 1 seed. And it seems like Mark Titus, good guy of the week, Hubert Davis, it looks like they're headed to an 8 seed.
Controversial opinion. If the tournament started tomorrow, I think Carolina's first 4 out. Your best win is James Madison, dude.
No, Portland. Come on.
Portland was a big win. No good wins.
Portland's a good win.
No quad 1 wins.
College of Charleston's a good win. Add them up. Start stacking wins. But I'm excited now because Wednesday, North Carolina plays Indiana at Assembly Hall. I assume that would be.
We're not going, by the way. I want to get ahead of this because I've had a lot of people asking, and we have said yes, we are going for the longest time. We are not going. I canceled that trip so fast.
Yeah.
When I watched.
Yeah,
I watched
the end of that
Bama game and I was like, yikes! I want to see.
Yeah, and Baycott could be hurt. Like, there's a chance that
unless they win, then he won't be hurt.
Yeah, then he'll be great.
Then he'll be fine.
Well, his ankle looks good tonight. My one big note that I wanted to flag for everyone, and it's a small detail: Armando Baycott has not won a tip all season.
This reminds me,
and that is something that worries me.
Now, hold on. I this might ease your fears. I remember getting a tip in 2015 from I forget who it was, but I was writing the column for Grantland, and I became obsessed with it, that Jaleel Okafor didn't win a tip all season for Duke, and they won the national championship.
Well, there you go.
And then I watched every Duke game locked in on the tip. I would change the channel after the tip. I'd be like,
Baycott's vertical is about 1 inch right now. Not even kidding. I think that they should let Leaky jump at the tip because I think Leaky could get up there. But right now, those are my main concerns. I'm worried about Baycott. I'm really worried about Baycott. And if he gets the ball at the top of the key one more time and tries to dribble and turns it over, Mark Titus, I'll die again.
What if Carolina treated it like football and just started deferring the opening tip? Just said, like, we want the ball at halftime.
That's what it looks like.
You know what I mean?
That
you just jump nobody. You just straight up say you guys.
That's the analytics of Mac Brown right there. Let's let him have it.
We want the ball in the second half.
We actually wanted them to score.
Yeah, we wanted them.
That was our plan.
No, Carolina. I don't need to overstate the obvious. Carolina looks terrible, and not just after losing. If you guys would have beat Bama, I would have still sat in this chair this morning and said
it would have been nice to win.
It would have been better to win, but still, it's not looking great.
And Bama's a really young team, so to let a young team, I wouldn't say they out executed Carolina, but to let a young team get away and get a win in that kind of environment, the elder statesman, a veteran, have to come away with that win, in my opinion. And some of the plays that were drawn up at the end. It seems to be a lot of who's Batman, who's Robin. Yeah. And Armando Baycott wears Batman boxers, but right now he's looking like Robin. And Caleb wants to be Batman, but I'm not sure he's there yet.
Bama, by the way, is going to be
a good team.
Hilarious yet again this year.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be
up and down, beat anybody and lose to anybody.
I love what Alabama basketball's become.
Yeah.
Just in the sense of they just throw a monkey wrench into anything.
They got a lot of length.
hit a ton of threes.
They're an
They go
airport
ice
test
cold.
team. Like
Yeah,
if you saw
yeah.
Alabama in the airport, you'd say that's top 5 team.
Yeah.
And Brandon Miller is legit.
They did the same thing Carolina did, where like every possession towards the end of the game, they just dribble the air out of the ball. I've never seen so much dribbling in my life. It was honestly, I got whiplash watching Purdue play basketball, and then I flip it over to the Carolina Alabama. It's like they're playing a completely different sport.
And I'm sure the NBA guys in the building loved it.
Yeah, they were like,
this is our kind of game.
This is sick.
And then they saw the final score, and they're like, "Man, that Carolina-Bama game was awesome." And I'm watching the score app, and I could tell it was a horrible game.
We need more. If college basketball was like this, we would watch more often.
Yeah.
And everyone that's actually watching this game is like, get this off.
Please get this out of my face.
Including Roy Williams.
Poor Roy.
Roy, I thought Roy was going to be your pick for good guy because this man stuck around to watch the end of this game. When he put on his coat to leave,
He had dinner reservations.
yeah, he was ready to get the hell out of there. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, I guess I'll support
Wanda,
the
his
boys.
wife, is looking at him. Is like, Roy, we got to go to dinner, and he's like, "Oh, hold on one second.
Go warm up the car, baby. I'll be out in a second.
Right there. My Tar Heels got to pull this one through.
Surely Caleb's going to hit one of these shots. Surely. And I'll be right there.
First time, by the way, that North Carolina has lost a game when Caleb has had 20 or more points. That's your stat right there. There's your Big Ten stat of the week. Since Caleb has been on campus, every time he has scored 20 or more points, Carolina has won until that game.
So as we move forward in the season, it's going to be interesting because Carolina will, the optimistic Carolina fans will continue to say that we saw this last year and that you guys just can flip the switch and let's just get to March and we'll be fine and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I don't think it's a flip switch kind of situation.
I don't know if that's the deal. Yeah. I don't know if you can work under that assumption. I don't know if that's,
I don't think so.
I'm with you to a certain extent. Like, yeah, I'm not going to panic that, Carolina is, everyone, the UCLA of last year seems to be like a theme that continues to get brought up. And I remind everybody, UCLA was very good last year, and UCLA was a Final Four caliber team last year. So, if that is in fact what this North Carolina team is, then yeah, I mean, I'm not going to worry, and I'm going to work under the assumption that when the tournament comes around, they can flip a switch and become as good as we expect them to be. But at some point, I would like to see them be good this year for sure. I think that's fair, right? At some point, we would like to see them beat a team that's good.
Yeah.
At some point, I would like to see them not play like every single time they take the floor. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't have to be national title good. But
I would like to see them play basketball. I would like to see them actually play basketball.
For me, that's what I would like.
I'm pretty tired of watching what's happening right now and just the mental aspect of it. Titus, they were up 7 with 3 minutes to go on Iowa State and just completely stopped like the game was over. They were up on Bama and then just completely I mean, I cannot fathom that reality.
If you want to silver lining it, Tate, you might point to the fact that all the blue bloods suck. Well, not all of them. Most of them suck, but
yeah, it's been a tough.
Depends on your definition of blue blood.
Tough start.
What is your definition of blue blood, by the way? Should we go through it? Should we take
Indiana fans are smashing the table. We are a blue blood.
Like Duke does not look great. Duke,
No.
And I'm choosing my words carefully because Ohio State plays Duke on Wednesday. But Duke's best win is Xavier on a neutral court. Xavier will probably be a tournament team, but that's not like like Duke doesn't have a ton of wins that jump out to you. Kansas' best win is Duke, which is kind of like just a cyclical thing. Like,
the transitive committee is having a hard time.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, you beat Duke, but then is beating Duke worth anything this year? We don't know yet. We're still trying to figure that out. Other than that, they beat Wisconsin in the Bahamas in overtime in a game that they should have lost and were very lucky to win. You did win. It counts. I'll count it. But like, if we're trying to make an argument for Kansas being good enough to repeat at this point, I'm not seeing it.
No.
I certainly don't see it. Kentucky has literally lost every game they've played away from home. Their best win right now is probably Duquesne at home. So somehow KenPom and the algorithm.
Portland's a better win, I would say, than Duquesne.
Somehow they didn't beat Portland.
No, I'm saying for Carolina.
Oh, for Carolina. Oh, I thought you were saying Kentucky.
No, I'm saying the Blue Bloods.
No. Yeah, honestly, beating Portland in Portland is probably a better win than Duquesne at home. But Kentucky, the algorithms love them for some reason. And if I'm doing like
Payola.
I'm doing the exercise of if the tournament ended today, where are you seeding all these teams? I don't think Kansas, Duke, Carolina, or Kentucky, or UCLA, who has 2 losses and has no good wins. I don't think any of these teams are top 4 seeds.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think I'm putting them in top 4 seeds if the tournament started today.
I don't think so either. And I think of those
certainly not Villanova.
Of those teams
by the way.
that you
Throw Villanova in there as like a blue
Villanova's
like
they're not even in that
Gonzaga stinks too, by the way. Gonzaga has better Gonzaga's at least Gonzaga beats Michigan State on an aircraft carrier. That was cool.
But Portland almost beat Michigan State.
Gonzaga beat Kentucky, but like Gonzaga is the same thing, but that's not a surprise to me. We came into this season. I'm still waiting for the haters to acknowledge that I stuck my neck out at the start of the season, said this Gonzaga team's booty.
Zig.
Now everyone's falling in line, and I'm like, is anybody gonna? Where's my where's my trophy?
Well, maybe that proves that Gonzaga is actually a blue blood now, right? That they're in this group. That let's lump them in. Let's put them in there.
There you go. No, so I find that fascinating. That seemed to be a story coming into the season. Was all the blue bloods were good enough to win a national title, and right now most of them stink. Not even fun Capital
to watch.
Letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of hope around.
Yeah, they're not fun to watch. That's the other part. It's not like you like see it where it's like if they could just put it together, X, Y. It's like they kind of stink. They kind of all stink. Kansas.
I'm an MJ Rice guy, but in general, the blue bloods are a joke right now. And Duke is the one that is getting kind of the pass. It seems like.
Well, Duke's going to beat Ohio State on Wednesday. Then they'll be back. And
they'll be in the top 10.
Yeah,
they'll be number 7.
But again, I want to remind everybody. None of these games should count until you beat somebody on the road. I love that theory. My dad opened my eyes because it's hard not to when your father comes on and he seems like he's a madman. And he's pulling his hair out of his head and he's going crazy about Purdue being ranked number 1, saying they haven't played anybody on the road. And we're just cackling, laughing. And then the very next game is a road game and they lose. It makes you rethink some things, Tate.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
Here are the true road wins from. We're still in this segment, by the way. I haven't abandoned good guy, bad guy. Here are the true road wins from the ranked teams in this week's poll. Houston, your number 1 team in the country. They beat Oregon. They won at Oregon, 66-56. They won by 10. After that, you have to go to number 10 Indiana, who won at Xavier in the Gavitt games. They won by 2 against Xavier. Number 11 Alabama won at South Alabama by 10.
Good win.
Number 20 Michigan State just on Sunday beat Portland by 1 at the end of the game. And depending on your perspective, Portland probably should have won that maybe.
Yeah.
And then San Diego State beat Stanford. Number 24 San Diego State beat Stanford by 12 before Maui. So that's it. Those are the only ranked teams that have won on the road so far. So I just wanted to point that out.
New top 5.
Yeah, that might be your new top 5.
Graham Gouch's top 5
yeah,
right
that's
there.
his top 5. I don't know. I think it is worth pointing out that like none of these teams we haven't seen teams on the road. Now it's going to start to get interesting because we have ACC Big Ten Challenge coming up this week, where some of these teams have to go on the road. We have
our last hurrah, by the way, of the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Yeah, RIP. Then we have conference season starts for a lot of conferences. Do the deal where you play like 2 conference games in December just to like give people a taste.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't know why that started, but that's like the new trend. So I don't know, just something to monitor. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So maybe like Carolina, maybe like some of these other teams lose and you'll feel better about Carolina because like some of these teams that look like they're unstoppable, they go on the road, they lose.
And if you're Carolina and you're Hubert Davis right now, you just say, we have to get a resume-building win. We have to. And it should have been Alabama. But at this point, Indiana has to be in that equation. They play at Virginia Tech. That's a team that's going to be a tournament team on the road. Maybe you get a win there. You got to beat Ohio State in MSG. We will be at that game. We will be in New York.
That game. Dare I say it? I'm ready. If we beat Duke on Wednesday, if the Buckeyes beat Duke on Wednesday, I'm ready to puff out my chest and say that Ohio State is the best team at that event.
There you go.
I think I might be ready to say that.
Yeah, I mean,
between UCLA, Kentucky, Carolina, and Ohio State, going into the year, everyone said, "Why is Ohio State in this event? Get them out of here." Why the hell do they keep getting invited? And I'm ready to. I think I'm ready. I think I'm
best
ready
team in the country.
Yeah,
Calipari, run it back. 2019. I think it could be that.
I'm ready to start peacocking. If we beat Duke, I'm ready to. Dude, it's
I
happening.
do love though, like you said, it's like when you beat Duke or you beat Carolina or you beat Kentucky, it's like you shoot up in the polls.
Yeah,
but they're all
like nobody. It's like right now, it's like the most empty. Like that was happening when Iowa State beat Carolina, and Iowa State fans were like, "We're
top
here.
10.
We're here."
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, have you watched this Carolina team? Like that's same things happen. Gonzaga will lose 12 games this year, and when they lose their 12th game, whoever beats them will be ranked the next week because people will say Gonzaga. If you beat Gonzaga, you're automatically ranked. That's how it works.
I think Portland beats Gonzaga this year, and then they're top 25.
Top 25.
And then that's Carolina's
You're
best
probably
win.
right. You're probably.
I think
right.
that's my fingers crossed. I'm pulling for Portland.
Yeah. How long can these teams be a good win when they're racking it? Like how long?
Well, it drove me crazy last year with Carolina. Like Carolina would lose to someone, and then they're like, that team's a top 25 team, but also Carolina's on the bubble and they suck. You're like, what? When?
It's gonna happen with Villanova too in the Big East. Like all these Big East teams are gonna start beating Villanova in a way they never have before, and all those programs are gonna be like, we've caught up.
Seton Hall's like, we're top 25.
Yeah, we've closed
Coach
the gap.
Holloway's killing it for us. We just beat Villanova.
Anyway,
Cal Neptune, by the way, of new Villanova coach, he was the runner-up for Good Guy of the Week. Hubert Davis surpassed him, but Cal Neptune was right there in the running.
Jay Wright sweepstakes are heating up.
And Jay Wright, good guy also. He tweeted out, congratulations to Portland. Congratulations to my good friend Eric Spoelstra, who went to Portland on their big win over Villanova.
Oh, he said good friend Eric Spoelstra?
Good friend.
Jay Wright's going to the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was putting it out there like, I'm friends with NBA guys.
As a reminder, I rub NBA elbows in my free time.
These are my guys. These are my peers.
Yeah.
And also Villanova. You love me. Miss me? Miss me yet?
Miss me yet.
I think that was the vibe I got from that. So Cal Neptune, runner-up, good guy. Should we go to bad guy?
Yeah, bad guy. Who's your bad? You're saying bag with a G.
B-A-G guy. Bad guy of the week is the new number one. I mean, why not? The Houston Cougars led by Kelvin Sampson, and I think Kelvin Sampson has good guy tendencies. I think he's a good guy at heart, but at the end of the day, Indiana, the whole NCAA
they would say
thing,
no, yeah. But then
he has to fall in line with the bad guys, even though I don't want him to necessarily be in the world of bad guys. I think Kelvin Sampson is the bad guy, and I think with the Jordan brand, what he's done with Houston, bringing them back into the zeitgeist, like you said, first time number one since 1983. With Elijah Wan, with Clyde Drexler, the fact that he brought back Houston basketball at this level and has them where we talked to Coach Holtman after one of the Maui games, and we were just, just talking generally about college basketball, and he's like, Kelvin Sampson has a standard. And Kelvin Sampson is kind of the standard in college basketball right now for what it means to have a program rowing and moving in the right direction, playing like a team. And even though they haven't looked great, as we saw against Kent State, they get the job done, and no one really cares as long as you win.
They can muck it up, dude.
As long as you muck it up and win, nobody cares. That's my problem with Carolina. You're not winning these games, so now you have to get out of the way. Houston, they're going to be number one for a while unless they go to – I think they're going to Virginia,
They're going
right?
to Virginia.
So that could be the game. I saw a lot of Virginia.
That's the same – that's the Ohio State-Carolina game is the same weekend as their – because otherwise I would have moved heaven and earth to be there, but we have to go to Ohio State, Carolina. But that same day is Virginia-Houston.
So that's going to be a great day for college basketball. And I saw a lot of Virginia fans thought that they should be up there as the number one team. So there you go.
That's what everybody – that's what I mean. Like if you win a tournament, you think you should be number one.
Yeah.
And Houston wasn't even in a tournament, and they're number one. That's why,
Purdue fans are like,
how's this happen?
one?
Yeah, Arizona's like, how are we not number one? How does this?
That's what I think. I think Arizona might be number one.
Houston plays at Bama, by the way, the week before, the 10th, December 10th.
Come on, Bama.
That's going to be a fun weekend because that's Indiana plays Arizona, I believe. Let me look up.
In Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas on Fox.
Yeah.
Indiana, Arizona. Kansas is at Mizzou. San Diego State, St. Mary's.
That's a good game.
Which would actually be that's in Phoenix for some reason. That'll be fun. Xavier Cincinnati Tate, which we love on this program.
Yeah, great game.
Bama Houston. That's all on the December 10th. Purdue at Nebraska. Purdue's at Florida State this week. Woof.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot of length on the floor for sure, but Florida State is, I mean, the ACC right now, I think they're ready for the ACC-SEC challenge to start. I think they're already moving, in my head, they're moving to that reality because right now everything looks bad. But Kelvin Sampson is the bad guy here, and I think it's pretty obvious why. Number one team in the country.
Yeah, best defense in the country probably.
Yeah.
I don't coming into the season, I thought they should have been number one. I would have voted them number one, but I also understand the importance of driving narratives as a big J myself.
Bring in the people.
And so for that reason, I supported the people that voted North Carolina number one. But I think if you would have actually truth serumed all of us, I think Houston would have been number one coming into the season. But you have to sell the sport. So you have to put Carolina.
And why is that? Because of Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelvin Sampson could be argued as the best coach in college basketball right now. And he knows how to schedule, and he knows how to get in talent, and he knows how to develop a team.
Now that Indiana, knock on wood, has found their coach, Mike Woodson.
I agree.
The coach of the future.
Yeah.
I think it's time for Indiana fans to let the Kelvin Sampson thing go and instead direct your blame towards the NCAA and bullshit rules. You know, I think that's where I land on it. I think at the time, the whole reason. First of all,
imagine if Sampson was at Indiana right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Indiana would be the cream of the crop.
They would already have two more banners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least one maybe.
No. Imagine how many programs at that time would have fired their coach for that. Indiana's biggest problem was, and I'm not saying this to be self-righteous as a kid who grew up cheering for Indiana, but it's it's a statement of fact. Like they care way too much about following the rules. That was like Bob Knight's whole
But
thing.
yeah, but that's like, part of your identity.
Yeah, Bob Knight was like, I am an asshole. I will choke my players. I will throw chairs. I will do everything in the world except break the law or break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll break the law.
He'll break the law.
But his version of the law.
Yeah. If a man strikes me, I strike him back.
I'll strike him back. Yes. If he touches my elbow in the handshake line, I will strike him.
Yeah. In real life, he's Hammurabi. That's how an eye for an eye.
But that was like the air of superiority that Indiana fans carried themselves, especially when you compare like the Indiana-Kentucky rivalry. In Kentucky, every single coach that sat in that head coach's chair in Kentucky, didn't matter who it was, you cycle them through. They're cheating their balls off. That's how Kentucky's hanging banners. We don't do it that way at Indiana. We do it the right way. We never cheat, ever. You won't see it. So then Kelvin Sampson comes along, and it's like an existential crisis. It's like, on the one hand, this guy's a great coach. We could see it. That team in 2008, they were going to be very good. They were very good. But on the other hand, like we can't tolerate this. Fast forward to now, yeah, you're absolutely right. If Kelvin Sampson's the coach, even if he commits an NCAA violation, like I don't know, it's so
I'll tell you this.
We've talked about it before, but I just wanted to say,
if Kelvin Sampson was the coach of Cody Zeller and Victor Oladipo,
they win the national championship.
100%.
Yes.
So that to me, that's what I'm talking about. That's why he's bad guy of the week, because Kelvin Sampson, not only does he get the talent in the building, but then he delivers the results.
But I'm saying, don't like, if you're an IU fan, don't be mad at Kelvin Sampson.
Leave it alone.
Because I think he was doing what he needed to do to bring Indiana back, and he just was ahead of his time.
100%.
Literally, in that what he did is now legal.
Of course.
But also just like, there, as it turns out, to be successful in college basketball, you do have to live in the gray area, and this man was willing to step into the gray area, and Indiana wasn't ready for it. Now they are. Now, if everyone found out that Mike Woodson was like, the name, image, likeness deals that Mike Woodson is doing aren't actually name, image, likeness deals, he's just like kind of kicking players like $10,000 of his own cash, I don't think Indiana fans care. And 10, 15 years ago, they would have been like, I don't care that he's a native son and he played here and all that. Get his ass out of this program. Get his ass out.
That's not how we do things.
That's not how we do things.
Yeah.
Now they're going to say, yeah,
that's the future.
That's the future.
And let's be honest, 10, 15 years ago, Bill Self is blackballed from college basketball.
Yes.
Like, for what he did. I mean, it's just no question about it. But now everyone's like, what's the big deal? We move on. Yeah. And it is what it is. But that's why Kelvin Sampson, when you look at him, he is the best version of a bad guy.
He finessed his way back to the top.
He
goes to the NBA. He does his, spend some time in the
around
wilderness.
His peers.
Yeah, around his peers.
Eric Spoelstra.
He comes back, and now he's got the #1 team in the country. So.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. What's next? How does this segment work? Oh, Kyle Guy.
Kyle Guy.
Right.
You got the official
hang on.
statement, right?
Let me pull out my phone.
So we reached out to Kyle Guy. We're going to have him come on the show and do like a little zoom in for 5 minutes, a little check-in. But he has a game tomorrow, right? That's correct. So he needs to go to bed.
He said it's late AF here. We crying laughing emojis. So
then check DM.
So yeah, just check DM. But I do have a great opportunity for some new shoes if you would like them. Please click this link.
I'll send a PS5 for you.
But I said, can we get a statement, Kyle? Can we read? Because Virginia's, but what's Virginia ranked in the poll?
3, right?
3?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
3.
Yeah, they're 3 now. Virginia's 3rd. The people want a Kyle Guy update. They want to know how he feels about this program. So I said, can you send us a statement? He said this: per official release /statement/fact. TB got the boys playing confident and free. Similar to my sophomore and junior year. Embrace the pace, my ass. 80 points per game right now. Lots of experience. Shedrick, the unsung hero of the team. Love that we went and dominated in Vegas after the tragedy with UVA football team. Tough situation, and they showed out. Also adds Kyle, it says here, he also adds that Beekman is all ACC. And he also adds that Armand and Franklin from Indy, so shout out just because. Which I already made that connection for you, Kyle. But I'm glad that you, that Armand Franklin got the Indy connection. So there you go. That's the official statement from Kyle Guy on Virginia basketball.
Virginia basketball is back and better than ever, it feels like. And Kyle Guy endorsing it is great for, Tony Guy, because a lot of people wanted this segment to be Tony Guy once Kyle left, but we would never do that to Kyle Guy. We want Kyle Guy to be involved. And, I love that. I agree.
They got Michigan on Tuesday at Michigan. So that'll actually be I know Michigan's been up and down and all that.
That's a get-right game for Michigan, it feels like.
That is a get-right game for Michigan. It's a program win.
Yeah, that's gonna be a signature win playing for Michigan. I hate to see that. Speaking of Michigan, quickly.
We don't need to.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it was actually not even about Michigan. It was about Juwan Howard striking a man.
Okay.
And,
yeah, let's talk about that. Okay.
You
All
like
right.
that?
Yeah.
But Doug Eddard struck a man in the Syracuse game. Did you see that?
I did, but he got struck first.
He did get struck first, but he then ran away after he struck.
I don't have a problem with it.
Why? Because the big guy?
Yeah. I think okay, so I don't know the rules of the streets. You know, as we know, when the streets told me that touching a man's elbow means you're allowed to strike him, I was like, you know, I didn't update these rules. Like the rules that I grew up with are very different than the rules that seem to apply now. So I don't know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
My interpretation of the Doug Eater deal, he was struck first.
Yes,
right?
he was.
He was struck first.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you don't strike back, you're a bitch. So he had to, I think what's going through his head is like, I have to strike this man. I must strike the man. So he strikes back to say,
I think he should have pushed him. I think
maybe a shove would have been nice.
A shove was the move.
He strikes the man, and then the big dude on Syracuse is running at him, and he takes off running, and everyone's like, there it is. He's a bitch. Now, what I would say is Doug Eater, he agreed to the terms of mano y mano.
Yeah,
that's what he agreed to.
Yeah.
You struck me, I strike you. Now it's on. Let's strike each other.
The rules of engagement there say it's one-on-one. Yeah. Everyone else circle around and you know.
I didn't actually watch the game, so I don't know who the guys on Syracuse were. So apologies for.
Yeah, I just saw the highlight.
I just saw that clip.
And then I saw the coach afterwards with Boeheim.
Did they strike each other?
They looked like they were about to. Jim was ready.
But I think Eater strikes the dude, and then he sees another guy running at him, and I think he was just like, now this is an ambush. This is not what I agreed to. I agreed to me and this other dude on Syracuse just standing here striking each other back and forth.
Yeah.
You are now introducing a second striker. That's too many strike. I need to step away and assess what this is before I engage. I think if the dude that he hit charged at him and he took off running, then he's a bitch.
Yeah.
But it was a different dude, and at that point he's like, this is chaos. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But also, I say that as a guy that, like, if I was ever in that situation, I'm taking off running so fast.
I think I shoved the guy, and then I don't think it escalates as high. But
I think you're right.
As soon as you slap someone the way he did, because the first slap was more like get you out of my face, kind of like a little, nothing.
He probably smacked his lips as he did it, like, come on, man, like,
yeah,
give him a little touch
one of those.
He's
like, get out of here.
Yeah, come on, dude.
And then Doug was like, straight up, smack.
Yeah.
SWAT.
Yes.
Strike.
Yes.
And then from there it was chaos.
Doug said, "No, sir."
And Bryant won, by the way. So Doug came away the winner at the end. So
is Jim Boeheim retiring this year?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
He's got to.
Red Autry on the way.
Oh,
from North Carolina.
Interesting.
Kelvin Sampson also from North Carolina. A lot of people forget that.
How Boeheim's got it's time.
It's been time.
Rick Pitino to Syracuse.
Oof. You know what I was thinking? This is a big brain. Speaking of, we're in Cow Guy now, but I think that
the segment. The reason people love this segment is because it's the only segment in podcasting that takes up the entire show. One segment.
It's great. I think that Rick Pitino to Villanova. If I'm Villanova, I'm thinking about Rick Pitino.
We gotta
make Rick say no.
New segment idea: Rick Pitino sweepstakes.
Yeah,
and we go through all the teams. Off the dome right now. So Louisville's in the mix. I think Syracuse is in the mix. I think Villanova might be number one now that you say it. Rick Pitino to Villanova sounds right.
Sounds good.
Rick Pitino to Ohio State football, I think, is a discussion I'm ready to have.
If I'm Duke, make Rick Pitino say no.
Dude.
Updated Coach Mr. K sweepstakes.
Put out a Rick Pitino graphic that's like, my top 13, please respect my decision.
Yeah. One of them is overtime elite.
Oh, jeez. So what were we saying? Virginia's going to lose to Michigan.
I think
I think that's a
trap game.
A trap game.
If I've ever seen one.
But even if Virginia loses to Michigan, you're still back. Of
course. Yeah. I think Virginia is obviously the favorites to win the ACC now. So
who's the best player on Virginia? Is it Beekman? Is it Gardner?
I think the most important player is Beekman, and I think Gardner is the best player, quote unquote. Right?
Kyle Guy says Shedrick's the.
Yeah, he said he's the MVP.
Aiden Shedrick's the what do you say? The unsung hero of the team.
That
doesn't sound like best player.
Yeah, that
sounds
guy.
Like
that's X Factor. That's things like that.
Yeah. Vanderplas is the glue guy, but he's more X Factor than glue guy.
He's more X Factor.
But he's white, so he's technically by default the glue guy. I don't know, dude. That's what makes this team good. Is they're confusing. We can't put them in a box.
And they learned how to play offense. So
What else?
last one, Cal's guy, right?
Cal's guy, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Cal has been pretty silent on social media. Obviously, a man that loves to make videos where he preaches patience and not to judge his team, even though that they have the reigning National Player of the Year. My Cal's guy of the week. Last time we did this, it was Robert Dillingham. This time, it is Paul Miller of Paul Miller Ford in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
Because you can drop off a new unwrapped toy at Paul Miller Ford by December 2nd, and it'll go to a Toys for Tots donation. This is all coming through John Calipari. He's trying to help the community in Lexington. So my Cal's guy of the week is Paul Miller Ford. Paul Miller, of course, being the man that owns this Ford dealership and is running the Toys for Tots program for Calipari. That is the last thing that he has put out on social media.
God damn it, I love this man.
Yeah,
I love this man because he genuinely
70 years of quality from Paul Miller Ford, by the way.
He genuinely is a great human being that does a lot of great things for his community.
Say what you want about the coach, but he loves the community.
And every single time he does, we talk about it on the show and laugh, and it makes that's why he's a genius. Because he's like, how could they possibly make fun of me for raising money for tornado victims in Kentucky?
And you can't.
And we can't, but we laugh. And that's why we laugh. Because we're like, God damn it, he's
done it again. So Cal's guy of the week, Paul.
What does Cal/Kentucky have to do to get you back? This particular team, because I'm thinking about it. Like what we've seen so far is I'm kind of out on this experience. Cal wants us to be out. He puts out these videos that say, "Be patient. We're not that good. We need time." But they're still fourth on KenPom, Tate. The algorithm loves them. The AP poll, they're what? They shouldn't be ranked. If
they're
19th. They're 19th, which is obviously not great. But like, for God's sakes, they've lost both games away from Rupp. They haven't won a game away from Rupp Arena. And the best team they've beaten there is who? I don't. What did you say? Duquesne.
Duquesne.
Was that what it was? So their schedule coming up. They got Bellarmine on Tuesday. It's Bellarmine, by the way. Shout out to Bellarmine, the Ballerman. They have Michigan and London on Sunday.
Jay Billis on the call.
Yep.
Dan Schulman.
Then they play Yale at home on December 10th. Then they're UCLA at Madison Square Garden on December 17th, which we'll be there for.
We'll be there.
If they run the table there, are we back in on them? Is that still not enough? Because I'm looking at them like I don't think that's really enough.
Yeah, I think for me,
and like, how are they going to win me back? How am I going to get to a point where I'm like, holy, Kentucky might win the national championship again? How long is it going to take? I'm thinking it's like you get into the meat of the SEC schedule.
I think it's January 14th for me. I'm looking at their schedule, and it's at Tennessee. I think I'm going to learn a lot about them at Tennessee.
I think they're at Bama before that too. So like by then we will have an
idea.
Yeah.
And if they start out the SEC schedule, like let's say they play Louisville on December 31st, they blow out Louisville. Of course they will. They get a bunch of confidence from that game, and they go hot into the SEC schedule. They win a couple big road games. Sheboy's looking great. He's putting up 20 and 20. And you and I are looking at each other and they're saying, "Wow, Kentucky, scary team."
Yeah.
Cal was right.
Yeah.
Preach patience and let's see what happens. So maybe early January is the next time I'm really checking it. Because even if they beat UCLA handily in MSG, I still will say I need some time to see what this team looks like. Because right now I think Tennessee's the best team in the SEC. So let's see what they look like on the road.
Gun to my head, Kentucky's the fourth best team in the SEC. Tennessee, Bama, Arkansas, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think.
Would you disagree with that? I mean, they might be.
I think Arkansas might be. I think Tennessee, Arkansas are the two that I have at the top of my mind. But you and I have already talked about Arkansas and some of their.
Bama, I don't think is going to win because they're going to jack a ton of threes and play ISO ball and lose like 4 or 5 games that they shouldn't lose in the SEC.
And
maybe not 4 or 5.
Commit dumb fouls.
Yeah, they're going to give.
They're young.
Yeah,
they're young.
They're going to give away a few games. But in terms of like ceiling, if we're doing ceiling talk, who's got the highest ceiling? Kentucky's got the 4th highest ceiling for sure in this. I think.
Yeah, and I think Arkansas has the highest ceiling.
I think Arkansas has the highest ceiling.
By a good amount. Yeah. Like if Arkansas locks it up and actually plays basketball instead of all the other crap that they do.
I agree.
Yeah, they would be a scary team.
All right, let's talk about Purdue and UConn because those are the two teams that, frankly, their fans have been listening to the show. If they are listening to the show, that have been hitting the fast forward button. They're like, when's the Purdue talk? When's the UConn talk? Get to it.
We gave you your own segment, basically.
Yeah.
Outside of the actual segment.
Yeah. They've been waiting, Tate. I want to start with Purdue because I'm a Purdue booster, and that's why we're going to start with Purdue.
And those are facts.
No disrespect to UConn, I do not give money to UConn. I do not give my hard-earned money to UConn.
Neither do I.
Once a year, donate money to the Purdue Day of Giving. So I was watching Purdue beat Duke pretty handily. Like Duke made it interesting there for a second, and they threw the 2-3 zone out there. Act of desperation, if we're being completely honest.
I also Purdue overloading on that. Yeah. That was great, making Duke look stupid. They didn't even know what to do.
Billis and Schulman did all they could at the start when at first the zone is kind of working. They made it seem like this might have been a stroke of genius from John Shire. Act of desperation from John Shire.
Of course.
And then felt a little more act of desperation. Anyway, Purdue handily beats Duke after they handily beat Gonzaga. They are absolutely rolling. And what makes this team so interesting is that Purdue was so interesting last year because of their roster makeup and everything, but they lose Jaden Ivey, Tate, who I think most talented players in Purdue history. You're putting Glenn Robinson's probably at the top, if not Rick Mount. Those two, Joe Barry Carroll is probably still above Jaden Ivey. Maybe not though. I don't know. I'd have to ask the old heads how they feel about it. Rick Mount and Glenn Robinson are definitely 1 and 2 in some order.
Yeah.
Ivy might be third in terms of just raw talent. I'm not talking about the impact in the college game. I'm talking about just you know what I'm saying. You know the difference. Maybe the point is top 5 talented.
And by the end of his career with the Pistons, we may look back and people are going to say he was the best.
He was number 1. Yeah. But you lose a guy who's one of the most talented players in the history of the program. You lose a guy in Travion Williams who I think could have been an All-American if Zach Edey wasn't on the team. If you take Zach Edey is the one that if Purdue lost Zach Edey and Jaden Ivey and Travion Williams was back with this Purdue team that they have, Travion Williams might be an All-American. In fact, I'd probably bet on him to win All-American honors this year. So you lose those two guys. There's a ton of questions coming into the season about who's going to run point for this team, what their guard play is going to look like in general. And Purdue has somehow not only answered those questions, but this team has it's early. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this team is more fun certainly than last year's team. I do think they're better from what we've seen right now. Put a pause on the season and put a pause on last season at this point when Purdue beat Carolina and Villanova, I want to say, in the Springfield deal, the Hall of Fame deal, right? At this point in the season. I don't want to let my imagination run wild here and say that they're going to definitively be better and they're going to definitely beat St. Peter's in the Sweet 16 this time or anything like that. But what I've seen, this Purdue team is better, and that seems that given the run up to the season, that seems impossible, Tate, that we could be here today and think that Purdue is better. So how are they doing it? And that's where it gets tricky because every single way you would describe that this Purdue team is doing it is just a white guy basketball player trope. That's it. They take care of the ball. They move the ball. They make smart decisions. They hustle. They make fundamental plays. Every guy on the court around Edey can shoot. There's no other way to talk about Purdue other than just be picture Jimmy Chitwood, multiply him by 4, put him around Zach Edey, put him around like a Monstar.
Yeah.
That's their basketball team.
And Zach Edey started playing basketball when he was 15, and you can see now that he's getting better at basketball. He's finally, it's all kind of coming together at a high level. And then Braden Smith, I mean, you're a sucker for the Mr. Basketballs in Indiana.
I am.
But he is a nice, true I'm doing it now. All the tropes that are coming to mind, but he just is that Indiana point guard that makes the right play. That is what he is by nature, and that's what he naturally does.
Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are giving me big time Ty Jerome Kyle Guy vibe. We need to have Kyle on to ask him about Purdue. Honestly, I don't want to ask him about Virginia. I want to see his thoughts on Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. He probably watches other Mr. Basketballs, right? That's gotta
absolutely. I think he should.
Is there a Mr. Basketball house, like the Heisman house? I wonder. I gotta ask Greg.
There should be.
I gotta ask Greg.
There should be. Greg, are you invited?
Greg.
Brought to you by Nissan.
But I get Ty Jerome Kyle Guy vibes from them, and you're saying to yourself, is it because they're both white? Yes, the answer is yes. That's why. That's 100% why. But no, I mean Braden Smith is dude. He's got the right amount of swagger. I need to get my first of all, we reached out to Coach Titus. Coach Titus said he's busy all day.
He said he would love to come on the show.
He would love to come on the show.
He wanted to talk about Purdue. but he just
I was
didn't have the time.
I was like, Dad, you're a Purdue hater. Purdue just beat Indiana for the Old Oaken Bucket. They're going to the Big Ten championship in football. Their basketball team is now what is Purdue ranked? 5th? Are they 5th in the AP poll? They look unstoppable. What do you mean you don't have time? And he's like, it's a weird coincidence, Mark, that my schedule is completely booked. I would love to come on.
Strange day for him. Yeah, he was like, I don't know.
I think he's putting his notes together is what he said. He said, I need some time. You got to.
Well, he's waiting for Wednesday night. When IU knocks off the Tar Heels, then he'll come out.
He's got to. I came up with this when I was talking to him yesterday. I was like, Dad, you got to come on the show and explain to us because you have a PhD in Purdue hating. And then I realized PhD might stand for Purdue hating degree. Like that's my dad's PhD. He's a Purdue hater.
That's like a banner he has on his wall. You know, I got a PhD, a Purdue hating degree.
Purdue hating doctorate is what I got.
They moved up 19 spots. By the way,
my dad is shook, and all of the old heads of Indiana are shook, Tate, because this Purdue team is not only very good and looks to be unstoppable at this point in the season, but Matt Painter has somehow taken Bob Knight's entire approach to basketball, stolen it, put a Purdue jersey on it, put it out onto the floor of Mackey Arena, and has no one is calling him out on this or has a problem with this or thinks
it's appropriation.
This is perverted that he's done this. But he's getting away with it, and I think that's what's got my dad and his fellow Hoosier boomers sick to their stomach to witness a Purdue team that is the best team in college basketball. Matt Painter has been the best coach for years at off-ball movement, which is, the so much of basketball has become ball screen oriented because of the NBA trickle down effect. And Matt Painter's like, let's pump the brakes on that. What if the guy holding the ball just holds the ball and then someone has some action away from the ball and sets a screen? And what if we cut away from the ball? What if we tried that? And Purdue's doing that, and people that are guarding them are like, what the fuck
is going on? Yeah. Purdue's playing real basketball, and teams are completely confounded. They're just looking at the bench.
What is this?
That's why they have to run zone, because Duke's like, what's happening here?
What's
I'm
happening?
used to AAU basketball.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So anyway, we'll be talking about Purdue a lot this season, but Purdue is very much legit because I'm worried. I won't lie. I'm slightly worried about a great defensive guard, like a team like a Virginia, a team like a Houston, a team like a Baylor. I think Arizona is a great matchup for Purdue. The guards are great at Purdue. What we've seen from them is incredible. They've stepped up. They've answered all the. It's going to be hilarious to look back on at the end of the year and wonder why we were questioning Purdue's guard play coming into the season when that's very much a strength for them right now. But I would like to see, before I get too crazy, I would like to see them go up against a team like a Virginia or Houston where they're just the ball pressure is insane on these guards. The toughness of the defense that they're facing is what the hell is this? Because I think Duke and Gonzaga, first of all, not as great as their jerseys would say they are, beating Duke and Gonzaga, but also both of those programs are very much finesse defensive teams. Those are not. No matter how good Duke and Gonzaga ever are, you never have, at least since Shane Battier graduated from
that's not what they're going to hang their hat on.
You've never pointed at either one of those teams and said they're going to punch you in the mouth on the defensive end.
They could step it up in spurts, but that's not who they are.
So I would like to see Purdue, which is going to happen in the Big Ten, when the games start getting physical and stuff. And I'm not saying that Purdue has to win every single game they play, and once they lose, I'm out on them. But I would like to see that before I get too excited.
And let's be honest, what is the worst thing that usually comes to bite Purdue? At the end of the day, it's expectations, and I think that to me, they were sitting in a good spot at 24. They were off the beaten path. They were off the radar, but they obviously have a lot of talent. And now I want to see, I wouldn't be surprised they go down to Florida State and we look up and Florida State has a lead, with 5 minutes to go in the first half, and you're like, what's going on here?
And my dad's like, my schedule just cleared up.
Coach Titus is like, I'm free. He just texts us, I'm free. Sends a Zoom link. I think that's the only thing that I have with Purdue is that every single time it feels like I'm like, okay, they got me. I'm buying in.
Yeah.
That's right when they break your heart. So, and I think Purdue fans are aware of that, and that's why they're trying to give themselves a little bit of a leash because they got to number one around the same time last year for the first time in program history. We were cashing all the checks for these guys, and then
the difference with this team and last year is number one, you don't have last year Travion Williams had to come off the bench.
That was tough.
He had to play because he's so good. He's two of your three best players couldn't play together. Travion Williams and Zach Edey couldn't play together. They both had to play. They couldn't play together. That's a problem. That's going to be a problem all season. You run back that exact same Purdue roster, even in the loss to St. Peter's, and they have time to reflect and all that. You're still going to have problems all season because you can't play both of those guys together, and they both must play. So that doesn't make any sense. Jaden Ivey, love him to death. Was probably overrated as a college player.
He was an NBA player.
He was an NBA player. He was a black hole. He did not fit in Purdue's system, and all the things I just said, like the off ball, like Matt Painter's like taking Bob Knight film from 1993 and crunching it and saying like, what is the motion offense? How do we set screens? How do we cut away from the ball? How do we, confuse defenses that way? Jaden Ivey was like, how do I get the ball in my hand and make a play? And Matt Painter was like, I mean, you're so talented. We have to give you the ball, but also at the same time,
we would like to run our offense.
We would like to run the offense that I'm trying to coach here. So that was the tug of war with Purdue all year. And then throw on top of it, they didn't give a about defense at any point last year. And that was partially a Jaden Ivey problem because, again, he's an NBA player. He doesn't want to play college basketball. And this group of guys, the Purdue team that they have now, I don't know how good they're going to be defensively because there are limitations to, and again, Mark, are you saying it's because they're white? Yes, it's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, I'm not trying to, hide that. It is. It's fact. They're not super athletic, I don't think, on the perimeter. So I don't know how good they're going to be defensively, but they are going to actually try, and for that reason, they're going to be better defensively than they were last year.
I'm with you.
They actually play as a team, and they actually, they actually care about defense.
And it is kind of funny that, going into the season, the narrative was about all the bigs in college basketball, and obviously Sheboy, Baycott, Timmy, those were the names we talk about. But now we got the secondary guys that are now really the first ballot guys, where it's Edey and Tubelis and, Sonogo. These are the guys that are jumping up and they're saying, hey, we're actually we're balled in this year, and we're going to dominate.
Can I humbly submit the Indiana-Purdue rivalry as the rivalry to step up and fill the void of Duke Carolina? Remember when I talked about that in the preseason? Like there's a rivalry vacuum because Kentucky-Louisville's dead.
Did it ever exist?
Yeah, I know. Duke Carolina's dead. Georgetown-Syracuse is dead. I mean, it's
dead and gone.
We revived it just to kill it again.
Yeah.
I think Arizona UCLA is interesting.
That's the one that's got my attention.
The thing about IU Purdue that's going to get people fired up is what I just said. That like Matt Painter has become
an identity crisis.
It's an identity crisis. Matt Painter is about to beat IU. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But Matt Painter has built a Bob Knight program minus all the other off-court shenanigans with Bob Knight. This Purdue team looks like a Bob Knight team in the 80s and 90s. This looks like a Bob Knight team. They play like a Bob Knight team.
And he grew up around Bob Knight. So at the end of the day, I mean, he was friends with Pat Knight.
Right.
And this is the person that he learned.
He wanted to go to IU.
Yeah, he learned the game from Bob Knight.
So I still think Indiana's very good, dude. I think Indiana's going to be very good. And I
mean, these are two top 10 teams. I mean, that is the beauty of it.
And you have two head coaches that played at those schools, which is a rare. Duke Carolina has that. Mm-hmm. But it's a rarity if you think about it. Like the best rivalries, like Arizona, UCLA does not have that. Michigan State does. Tom Izzo didn't play at Michigan State. Mm-hmm. Cincy Xavier doesn't have that. So to have a rivalry where it's the two guys that are alums that played at these schools, they're now coaching their teams. But then Matt Painter's also like more IU than Mike Woodson is. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to watch them play.
And both programs are trying to get into that Final Four actual conversation where we're going to bring a banner back, and Purdue's trying to get one up there, and Indiana's like, we're due. It's about time.
Like, not again. That's the missing piece. Is like Purdue has to win a national title for it to really go nuts. Yeah. Indiana has to start getting back to Final Fours. But yeah, like if you fast forward like the next 5, 6, 7 years, and I don't know. I don't even know if Purdue has to win a national title, but Purdue gets to, like, Indiana goes to the Final Four, maybe Purdue goes to, like, 2 or something. Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking.
Now it's on.
And
It's really on.
Matt Painter is, one of the top-tier college basketball coaches and still coaches college basketball, which in a world where every coach wants to coach NBA basketball or let these guys play NBA basketball at the college level, Matt Painter is a throwback in that sense, so it's fun to watch. And Woody is playing that game because he's now coming back from the NBA side and trying to merge the two things. So it is pretty fascinating.
No, I'm going to say this.
It's a good contrast.
Here's the hypothetical. Purdue wins one national championship, it's on. If Purdue wins one national championship.
Well, because your dad won't come on the show for a year.
No. If Purdue wins one national championship, the Indiana-Purdue basketball rivalry catapults itself to the top of the best rivalries in college basketball. Because what happens next is going to be just insane. Because the as much as they hate each other, there's like an understanding. Because every single Purdue Indiana argument follows the exact same script. It always ends with the Indiana fans saying banners, and then Purdue fans roll their eyes. No matter how you get there, that's what it ends up at. So if Purdue not only wins a championship, but wins one like in a modern era when Indiana hasn't won since 1987, and Indiana no longer has that trump card, it is so on, dude. Indiana fans are gonna.
They're gonna lose their minds. They're
gonna lose their minds. Yeah.
They're gonna be in a catatonic state for weeks.
Yes.
Because that is the standard. That is what it is. It's like we always have the trump card at the end of the day.
And they have no trump card.
And if they lose that, then Mike Woodson. I mean, they're going to be all over.
Hot seat. Rick Pitino to Indiana.
Rick Pitino to Indiana. Put it in.
Let's talk about UConn quickly, and then we'll do some shout-outs.
Okay.
8-0, all wins by 15 points. UConn is another team, and I think this is why UConn and Purdue are both fascinating. Not only are they dominating and winning in big ways and like fun to watch and all that, but they were two teams that coming into the season had so many question marks. And UConn brings back Sanogo, brings back Andre Jackson, who doesn't even start for them anymore, is now been relegated to the bench. Who else came back? Jordan Hawkins, I want to say, is in that mix. Other than that, there's a lot of question marks, a lot of freshmen, a lot of transfers that we have to make sense of. And so they were not a team that was on our radar other than Sanogo. Like if you would have asked me before the season tipped off, what do I think about UConn? I would have just probably said Sanogo. And then you would have been like, can you give me more, Mark? And I would have said, no, I cannot.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got for you. Sanogo. That's it. I'm short. My brain's short-circuiting. That's all I got. That's all they bring back. That's the only thing to be excited about. And so to have a team where you have so many question marks, and for them to like put it all together in the way that they have, their new guys have been incredible. Newton from East Carolina was one of those guys that's like following the same pattern or the same. We've seen this mold before of the transfer that lights it up at a smaller school, steps up a level. Can he bring the production to the higher level? So far, he can. He's been incredible. He's been awesome. The big dude from the big
Bristol.
white dude they have.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? He doesn't even play half the games, and he's put up like double doubles.
Dude, and then I was going back because I was watching UConn, and I'm like, this freshman is legit. And then I just went to Slam's page. I type in Donovan Klingon, and then I go to his Slam page. This guy was he had like 51 and 25 in high school.
Yeah,
I mean, just dominating in Connecticut, and like you said, he just comes in and makes an impact. They have size, they have length, they have good players.
Everybody that sees the floor is like 6'4" or taller.
They play connected.
Yeah.
And, Dan Hurley, he weirdly kind of has them moving. And we kind of laugh and make fun of him sometimes. This is a guy who drew charges on the sideline himself as a coach, which I've never seen before in college basketball. He can be a little fiery and annoying at times. But you can't knock the hustle of this UConn team. I mean, they are completely locked in. And shout out to Luke Murray, because the fact that they have Luke Murray on the bench over there, he got out of Dodge with Louisville, and they got Bill Murray as a fan. So when we get to the NCAA tournament, UConn's going to have Bill Murray on their side, which is that's a huge W. That's something that you want.
Yeah, man, they've been a ton of fun to watch so far.
And UConn fans are, I mean, they're blue blood. I mean, they have blue blood level fans and blue blood level engagement. So they're, I mean, all the UConn people in my life, Sean Hurley, one of those guys.
I saw him on Saturday. Actually, I was walking around.
Diehard Husky.
He's literally got a Husky named Kimbo that he walks around.
Exactly. And he's like, talk about the Huskies. And I'm like, feed me information.
Yeah.
Feed me the goods.
And he goes, Mark, what do you think about the Huskies? And I was like, Sanogo. And he's like, yeah, but what else? And
he's like, yeah, what about him?
I was like, good to see you, Sean.
Yeah, all right, Sean. But yeah, it's going to be a fun year for UConn.
No, Jackson's incredible. He had a big game against Iowa State, Andre Jackson, who is again, I'm trying not to sound like too much like a I don't know, a coach or an old head, but like he does do all the little things. Like the fact that this man was a starter on the team last year, gets demoted, quote unquote, to the bench, not only accepts his role, but like thrives in it.
Right.
He had like 13 and 10, 5 assists against Iowa State. Just does he does all the little things, dude. He's and those are the kind of guys you need when you have a team of huge roster turnover. To have a guy like that that's like, I am willing to, you go to Dan Hurley and say, I'm willing to do whatever role you want to give me. He says, all right, we're going to have to bring you off the bench because of XYZ. And he's like, done. I'll do it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's win basketball games. And they're blowing everybody out. They still don't, like, I
think they're going to end up leading the country in bench points. I mean,
you're probably right, yeah.
I mean, they literally, that's the thing that stands out to me when you look at this team. It's like, sure, the starters, but when they bring in the second unit, it's a unit. You got to deal with it, and they all put up points, and they're all talented, and they're like 9-10 deep, legit.
Yeah.
Maybe they run the platoon system. Maybe that's their new move. They're like, we actually are the platoon.
I'm looking at their schedule now. Creighton's the one because I'm thinking
Creighton and
like,
Connecticut battling to see who's going to take over the Big East without Villanova right now is that's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah,
because Creighton has the best starting five I think in the country as far as their connectivity and the talents and how they mesh together. But UConn like I said,
depth.
They have the best depth maybe in the country. So that's gonna be a good matchup. And UConn number 8 in the country now, by the way. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
It's good for college.
There are
basketball.
a lot of good teams, man.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot
of bad teams.
No, I mean, like the fact that like Gonzaga is bad, but they're not.
They're not terrible.
The fact that they're 14th is wild, and they should be. I would probably put them lower, to be honest. Like Illinois is 16th. Illinois should be higher.
I think so. I think so.
Even a team like San Diego State, who I get that like San Diego State fans came away from Maui with a bad taste in their mouth, and you gift the game to Arkansas, and I think San Diego State's going to be very good this year.
I agree.
I think San Diego State is going to.
You know who's another team?
Can they get over the hump in March? You know, Mountain West teams in the March and March Madness. We understand there's a pattern there. I get that, but I don't know, man.
You know another team that I like to see in the top 25? Your Ohio State Buckeyes.
I'm glad you said it.
I think they're a top 25 team, and I'm happy to see them there. And I think they got a good opportunity on Wednesday night against Duke to make a statement, say we're really legit. And then shoot up 5-10 spots, and then Duke will probably drop down 1. They'll probably be right behind Duke after beating them in Cameron.
We got. I'm looking at our schedule now. We just gotta beat Duke, man.
You gotta beat Duke.
Gotta beat Duke.
Back-to-back years.
Dude,
hang the banner,
dude. Saturday, I pulled up the Ken Palm algorithm. You ready for this?
No, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think you are. I don't think you're ready. Saturday, December 17th, North Carolina versus Ohio State. The Ohio State Buckeyes, according to Kenneth Pomeroy.
The first.
51% chance to win. Buckeyes are picked to win.
The
algorithm says Buckeyes are taking the W.
I would say that Ken Palm is not a fan of this North Carolina team, to say the least.
I love Ken Palm. I've always loved Ken Palm. You know that. Hold on. Let me search where our boy Evan.
Yeah, what's Evan got? Can you do that matchup?
Evan's algorithm.
Come on, Evan.
So Ken Palm's got the Buckeyes at, what are we at, 19th? Oh my God, dude. Let's go. Evan's got the Buckeyes at 28th. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Behind St. Mary's?
Come on.
Get that algorithm. We're behind Mississippi. Dude, Memphis, Mississippi State, Maryland, all ahead of Ohio State? No, that's a no for me. Sorry, Evan. I'm a Ken Palm guy. I'm back to Ken Palm.
Always have been.
Always been a Ken Palm guy. Anyway, congrats to UConn and Purdue for your November national championship. It's very exciting times. A lot of banners being hung around.
I love it. It's good for the sport. It's good for the sport.
No, like big picture thoughts though. The brought guys back teams to have like North Carolina and TCU, I guess, were the best examples. There are others though, like Indiana's doing well, Virginia's doing well, Creighton's doing well. But to have like two teams like North Carolina and TCU, they're trying to figure it out when you brought all these guys back and you thought the continuity should be there and make a ton of sense. And then to have teams like UConn and Purdue, and I'd throw Arizona in that mix of question marks. Like, how are you going to replace guys? And how is the roster turnover? And Arkansas is certainly one of those teams. Illinois.
And I feel like the talent actually hurt their projections for this season because you're like, how can you replace Benedict Mathurin and Dalen Terry? And it's like, well, you don't have to. And this team doesn't necessarily have to be better than that team, but they might be, good enough this year to be a champion.
All right. Shoutouts, closeouts. Let's wrap this up.
Big shout out for me. Shout out to the Maryland Terrapins. Maryland is one of those teams that I have a soft spot for. You know this, Mark Titus. Except for when I'm playing them and they're beating me, I do not have a soft spot for them. But the Maryland Terrapins hate Duke the same way that I hate Duke, so I've always, tip of the cap, respected that. And Kevin Willard goes down there from Seton Hall. A lot of people were not necessarily, thumping their chests when that hire was made, but what Kevin Willard has done so far.
Yeah, it wasn't a great sign when Seton Hall was like, Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Move on.
he's like,
We
I'm
want
leaving-
Shaheen
yeah.
Holloway.
Yeah.
We want the new high coach. But Kevin Willard, this program looks legit. They look like Maryland basketball. They're playing like a team. I mean, they're blowing people out. I know they blew out Miami, beat them by 18 points. That was a big moment in time. So just in general, I wanted to point out the Maryland Terrapins. I think they're fun. I think they're good. I think they're better than Duke. I'll just put that out there. I know the AP poll doesn't believe that, but Maryland is better than Duke, 100%. 100 out of 100 times they would beat Duke, in my opinion, this year. So shout out to Maryland. Happy for you. Happy to see it.
I want to shout out this guy who just tweeted at me a genius idea. His Twitter is just LDB. I don't know what.
Shout out to LDB.
You know who you are. He says that overtime. He's responding to the Carolina Bama game that just like wouldn't end, and everyone's like, "Please, for the love of God, just flip a coin and get this thing over with."
Yeah.
He says change overtime to 3 minutes, and then second overtime to 2 minutes, and then 1 minute every overtime after that. Which I just like the idea of starting with 5 minutes. I think you stay with 5 minutes, then you do 4 minutes, then 3. I like that idea. I want to shout him out for that. I love that idea as moving forward.
And we already kind of do that in college football. You know what I mean? We always move the goalposts in college football because we're like, get this game over with. So let's just do it in college
Second
basketball.
overtime should be 4 minutes. Third overtime's 3 minutes. Fourth overtime's 2 minutes.
I like 1 minute because it's basically 2 possessions.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like if you score, you win. If you don't, goodbye.
1 minute overtime is incredible.
That's
an incredible
I would watch
idea.
that because then you can also like milk the clock. You know, teams will just be pounding the ball up top for 25 seconds. If they got a guy like Caleb Love, they're just like step back 3.
Yeah.
If it goes in, great. If not, we lose.
I want to shout out in the way that you shouted out Maryland. I also want to shout out West Virginia, who might be good, dude.
Yeah.
West Virginia was supposed to be booty cheeks. They are not. So far, no booty cheeks. They are more face cheeks. We're talking cheeks. They're more on the face. Big plump face cheeks because they're smiling in Morgantown. Still no Jose Perez, by the way, the transfer from Manhattan. He's still working on his appeals process. But West Virginia.
So they have a conference player of the year on the way.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, and they got a good thing going, dude. They're winning some basketball games, and it's still that time of the year where it's when the Big 12 season rolls around, West Virginia might lose 11 in a row, and we'll laugh at the idea of. I mean, that literally happened to Iowa State last year. Remember, Iowa State was like undefeated and then lost like every Big 12 game. So maybe that happens. Maybe West Virginia really is the worst team in the Big 12, but as it's starting to bear itself out, maybe being the worst team in the Big 12 is still better than being like the 5th best team in some of these other conferences. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And also Bob Huggins, did you see that Nike picture where they had all the coaches on stage and like Roy Williams, Tom Izzo, and everyone, and they're all kind of together, and Phil Knight takes the photo op. Bob Huggins is just standing off by himself.
Get me the hell out of here.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
can
shout
I
out
say,
to Huggy Bear.
can we be done with the PK bullshit?
It was terrible.
It's terrible.
It's the worst tournament maybe in history. And you know what I was thinking as I was watching? Carolina had the most fans there, apparently, is what people said.
There's no way that's true.
That's what the people said.
I watched that game. There's no way that's true.
That's what the people said.
And if it is true, then in this event.
Exactly.
Now,
that's what I'm saying. And then I looked at the crowd, and it's like 18
there
Carolina
were like
fans.
2,000 people at the Carolina.
Exactly. And that's the problem. And all I could think about the entire time, if Phil Knight was really this marketing genius, right? If he's going to have the PK80, he should have had it in Alaska and brought back the Great Alaskan Shootout, but under the Phil Knight banner.
But it's not about Alaska. It's about Phil Knight.
I know.
And this is what I will rail against any idea that's I don't know. This gives me Mr. K vibes.
Yeah.
The whole like throwing a party for like the first one that came around was cool because they tried to market it as though it was like Nike's idea, and Phil Knight like showed up at the games. He's like, "What is this?
Yes,
this is for me. The birthday party you're throwing for me."
It was Coach K. It was the Coach K farewell tour, but for Phil Knight.
Coach K. Yeah, or however you want to. It was presented to me like all the Roy Williams and Coach K and all these Nike school coaches got together and said we need to do something for the godfather of sports, Phil Knight, and throw him a big birthday party in November, even though his birthday's in February.
Still doesn't make sense.
And so I remember watching that one, and I was like, this is kind of weird, but also whatever gets all these great teams together, I'm for it. This one, woof. It was just like as an event, I some great games. I'm not taking away from that, but like as an event, get it out of my face forever.
Agreed.
I don't need any more Phil Knight like the trophies they hand out too. Like the
trash.
Did the Washington Commanders make those?
It felt like they had to, they decided, they're like, do we have a trophy? They're like, absolutely no. Someone go get a trophy right now.
Exactly.
And also the most damning part of the whole tournament is that you stole Bill Walton away from the Maui Invitational.
Yeah.
Like the fact that ESPN said we're going to send Bill Walton to go get donuts in Portland as opposed to sending him to the Maui Invitational. Shame on you.
Shame.
I
want to shout out I got a few more I want to hit. Carolyn Peck, Women's Hall of Famer. 1999 head coach of the Purdue women's basketball team, my favorite women's basketball team of all time. Tate just wiped the floor with everybody they played in that tournament. Won every game by I think 13 was their closest game on their run to the title. I don't know. I just saw that she's getting inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And Carolyn Peck's one of those people that, like, Carolyn Peck and Tom Coverdale are two people that I will always think are absolute legends. And like, if they walked into the room, I might actually get down on my knees and start bowing to them. And like every other person has to not only wouldn't bow to them, but you have to explain to them who they are.
Yeah.
But those are like the two people to me that I'm like, are you kidding me? That's royalty right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's how it works. And that's why it's special, in those places. Because there's who cares about Matthew McConaughey in those places? That's Tom effing Coverdale.
No, oh, dude, Matthew McConaughey, Tom Coverdale, both walk in to Kilroy's on Kirkwood.
Yeah.
Tom Coverdale's going home with the hottest chick in the bar. No question about it. No question. And if he doesn't, burn the entire university to the ground and build it up from.
And 5 people called McConaughey Leo DiCaprio.
I mean, if he does like that, that's how you know Indiana basketball's back, is if that happens. Send Tom Coverdale to the bar and see what happens. And if he gets hounded, Indiana basketball's back.
I think there's a chance he would. I think there's a chance he would, Mark.
I want to shout out Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. Ohio State Buckeye Luke Fickell.
You know what the people were saying, by the way?
I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
I know what they're saying.
Man.
Thoughts and prayers to Ryan Day if he loses to Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell's your one, because boy, that is going to be.
Well, Urban Meyer to Cincinnati now.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
He went to Cincinnati, didn't he?
Yeah.
Bring Urban home.
Bring Urban back to Ohio. Because if Ryan,
I love how Urban and LeBron are the two people that have like 48 homes. Like, you can make the argument that they need to come home.
Yeah.
And it's like a different
Florida. It could be Gainesville. It could be Utah. It could be LA.
Like, because when Urban went to Jacksonville, he was going home to Florida. Then that doesn't work out, and he comes back to Fox, and he's coming home
to LA.
To LA, where he worked with Fox already.
Where he belongs.
Where he belongs. And now he's going back home.
It's a good gig.
Oh, very confusing.
It's good to have multiple houses.
But thoughts and prayers to Ryan Day, dude. If he loses to Wisconsin, that is.
And if Urban goes to Cincinnati and starts stealing all of his recruits, I mean, that is not going to be a good day.
I was prepared. I prepared a whole page of notes about Ryan Day, and I was prepared to sit down on the show. The time has come and gone. I think that no one gives anymore about. Yeah. I mean, I think Michigan fans care, but I don't. I'm not going to do the rant. I'll just read this one bullet point that I wrote down.
Please.
I googled Mike Vrabel's contract. I definitely did. So I'm not saying I don't want to make a case for like I think it's time to move on from Ryan Day, or I think it's not, or whatever. I just want to say that it elevated itself to a point that I officially have googled Mike Vrabel's contract and started piecing that together.
It's a good idea.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I was Googling Jeff Saturday's interim contract to get him to North Carolina football. So Mac Brown has a successor. So there you go. Tough weekend.
Enjoy the win, Michigan. Joke's on you.
They are enjoying the win. The Michigan football / Duke basketball fans in my life they are losing their minds.
If you thought all of America is loving that Ohio State lost this football game, and I understand Ohio State fans are the worst. I'm not afraid to say that. I'll look in the mirror and say we suck, we're terrible, it's not a fun experience if you wear the wrong colors at the shoe, But what I think people don't understand is that as you're dancing on Ohio State's grave and you're like, thank God we're shutting these annoying ass fans up, I think everyone has forgotten what a world would look like if Michigan ran college football, Tate.
Mm-hmm.
If you think Ohio State fans are annoying as hell, but we're relatable about it. We represent like the white trash college football fan. You know what I mean? Like when you picture an Ohio State fan, he's got like a mullet and like a Archie Griffin jersey on. He's probably wearing receiver gloves and clapping them. Michigan is like wearing a monocle and like looking down on the pores, and like they think they're Harvard. And then I'm saying, like, if Michigan is actually dominating a football, if you think Ohio State fans are bad, like it's what I'm saying is it's been so long that since Michigan's been
forgotten.
Everyone's forgotten.
Yeah.
And if you think Michigan running college football will be better than Ohio State running college football, good luck to you. Yeah. I'm just saying, like the world you're
throwing in one world of problems for a whole new one. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm also saying this.
That's a fair point.
The joke is on, if we play again in the national championship or in the playoff, if Ohio State sneaks in, Michigan is so screwed, dude, because they showed their whole playbook. Like, now we're going to be prepared for the long touchdown plays, like the ones where
you can stop them.
Now we're going to be like, we didn't know you could do that. We didn't know you could just like score an 80-yard touchdown on us. So now we're going to scout that. Yeah. Be ready for it.
We're going to watch the tape.
Meanwhile, Michigan, the only plays they saw from us all game were bubble screens. And
it's a big weekend for the bubbles, for the people talking about the bubble, for the bubble screens.
And pitches to the running back out of shotgun on 1st and 35. They saw that. We put that on film for them. But are they going to be prepared for like a jet sweep, say, that Ryan Day has up his sleeve?
So if Georgia loses to LSU in the SEC championship game, is there
Michigan's one and then
Michigan's one and you guys are 4? Yeah.
Yeah, like if
and then you guys
play, and
then you play them in the playoff.
Yeah.
So you guys
beat us again, and then
you guys are playing the long game. You guys are like, we'll lose this one because we're trying to win the title.
Ryan Day is going to talk so much about how he's got like an ace up his sleeve, and then the ace up his sleeve is going to be like a wide receiver screen in the middle of the field this time instead of a bubble screen.
Yeah. I can see it. And meanwhile, your receivers, I've never seen anything like it. Marvin Harrison Jr. makes more one-handed catches than anyone I've ever seen in my entire life, and he does it so casually that half the time they don't even react to it. I was like, throw this man the ball vertically, please. I'm sorry.
That loss has broke everybody in Columbus. Last year was easier because last year made sense, and last year computed in your brain.
Yeah.
This one did not.
This time we're at home.
Blake Corum goes out, and everyone's like, "We're good. We got this." The only thing that could ruin this is if Ryan Day shoots him.
Yeah, he's Carlos Mencia. He's got nothing down there.
Ryan Plaxico Burress Day. He went ahead and did it.
He did it.
Shout out to the United States of America men's soccer team.
That was my last shout out. Yeah,
we're winning the World Cup tomorrow.
I will say.
Is that how it works? We win.
I think so. I will say I've enjoyed. As someone who was the captain of his high school soccer team, played soccer his whole life, I am very happy with the way that our touch. Our touch is on a different level right now, and I've never been excited like this about our actual touch as a team collectively. Usually we have 2 or 3 guys that have good touch, and then we have a bunch of like bozos in the back that make us look like Americans.
Right.
Right now we're playing some quality football.
I want to say this. All of our Fox colleagues, we love them all equally. We do not play favorites, but if we were to play favorites, I want to say, as Christian Pulisic is leading the boys to a World Cup title, and you have Alexi Lawless, you have Landon Donovan, you have Clint Dempsey on set talking about what it means to be the face of U.S. soccer as Christian Pulisic is carrying the team to heights, hopefully, we've never seen before. I just want to go on record that Clint Dempsey is my GOAT and will forever be my GOAT.
Yeah. Clint Dempsey is my guy.
He's my GOAT.
He's always.
Just in case anyone wants to start having a debate about,
I was never a Landon Donovan guy.
No. So Clint Dempsey's my GOAT because Clint Dempsey embodies like the will of America, which is like, even if we're not the best, we're going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And
we're not afraid.
Yeah.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why he's my GOAT. It doesn't even matter. I don't even need to hear about the skill or like what level, how much money they made playing or anything like that. Clint Dempsey was there for a fight. He represented America. He's my GOAT.
Clint Dempsey dares to be intrepid, unlike a lot of people in this life. And he, even if he didn't give us a World Cup, he gave us glory. And so did Landon Donovan, but Clint Dempsey's still my GOAT.
Yeah. So
Sorry, Landon. I shouldn't say mediocre. That was me. That was me. Take that back. Great
all
player.
Right. That's it. Jim, you got any shout-outs?
The Fordham Rams named the court at Rose Hill, which is the oldest Division I basketball arena still being used in America. They named the court after my family friend, my friend's dad, who's also friends with my cousins and stuff. They all grew up together. Any Irish people in the Bronx all know each other. Frank McLaughlin.
Frank
Name of the
McLaughlin
court, the oldest gym in America. Division I,
wow.
on campus gym. Yeah.
in the Bronx.
Is Frank?
He played at Fordham, got drafted by the Knicks, and then he was Digger Phelps' assistant coach at Fordham, and then at Notre Dame, and then he was the head coach at Harvard, and then he was the AD for 27 years at Fordham.
Wow.
So he's just like been there forever. All three of his daughters went there and all that stuff.
Fordham made the Sweet 16 in 1971, by the way.
Yeah, with Digger Phelps, and they ended the season number 9. I just read.
There
Digger
you go.
Phelps was on the Fordham team in '71 that made the.
No, he was coach.
Coaching.
Oh, he was coaching.
Yeah,
I was
coaching.
gonna say
Yeah,
because
and Mr. McLaughlin was his assistant.
Yeah. So there you go.
And they
Then-
got bounced by Villanova in the Sweet 16.
yeah.
But imagine Fordham number 9 in the country. That's weird too.
It's New York basketball.
Digger
baby.
Phelps is very old.
I miss Digger Phelps' highlighters. Remember that? That was fun.
Matching-
Oh my
matching
God.
a
Matching the
tie.
highlighters. Yeah,
Matching
that
his
was
tie.
that
Yeah,
was
hell
great.
yeah.
That was a great time of College Game Day. We didn't know how good we
Yeah.
had it.
I know.
We really did. Even Hubert being on College Game. People act like Hubert wasn't on College Game Day. He was great back then.
Who else was on that?
Jay Billis,
And was Dickie Vion?
No.
Reese Davis, Jay Billis, Hubert Davis, Digger Phelps.
Yeah, that was the lineup.
That was the team.
And then-
Great team.
And then when Jay Will started showing up, it
As
was
soon as Jay Will is almost singularly responsible for basketball discourse being horrible. Like
Yeah,
he
I
is the
think so.
face of it.
I think so.
And
He got
and
hacked.
Wojo
He got hacked.
and Wojo up there, Wojo up there is making it just as bad.
All right. That might be it. That's the show. Congrats to Purdue. Congrats to UConn.
Yeah.
Congrats to who else?
Arizona.
Houston, the number 1 team in the country. Arizona. We got 7 top 5 teams right now in college basketball. It has never been a better time to be a college basketball fan. Big Ten ACC Challenge coming up. Who's going to win?
Big Ten.
I would agree with that.
Last time. I will say, even when I talked to people when I was in school on the team, Carolina, about the challenge, they were always very the opposite of eager to play in the game. Yeah, they did not want to play in the game. They did not want to play the Big Ten. So I think it's a lot of that too. And the Big Ten, like you come down and say we're the best conference, and the ACC does not take it that way. They're just like, okay, whatever, move on.
Okay, cool.
So you're gonna lose.
When you win, it matters. When you lose, you don't care.
Exactly.
Well, enjoy the SEC then, because you're playing the
Can't
SEC
wait.
Challenge. So.
I wonder what side Carolina will be in a few years. I don't know. Who will we be
The
playing?
Big 10, Big 12 Challenge is going to be nuts, by the way.
I think that'll be good.
That'll be very good.
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
SEC, ACC challenge in 5 years. It'll be Davidson in the ACC playing, against Virginia in the SEC.
ACC Big 10 Challenge starts Tuesday, or does it start Monday? Does it start tonight?
I think it
is there like an ESPN Plus.com/Northwestern game tonight?
Probably. Let's just assume so.
It really starts Tuesday. Tuesday, Wednesday. We're not going to Indiana anymore. What instead we're going to do, because Carolina plays Indiana and Ohio State plays Duke.
Yep.
Same night. We're doing a live show. We're doing a live show here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do a live show after the Indiana
Live
Carolina.
reactions
Yeah.
with Mark Titus and Tate Frazier, like we do in March, but we're gonna do it earlier because a lot of good games.
So we'll do our recap then on our YouTube channel. We'll put the audio on the podcast feed. So if you're not a YouTube person, we'll still we'll put that out for you. But then otherwise, we'll see you Friday. I'm gonna do the Fraud Power Rankings Friday. So Fraud Friday coming up. Fun week. All right, that's it. See you guys.